Good afternoon. Thank you for watching my review of my own group that was held on September 25th, 2021. The topic was sustainable food production, and I believe this was a very important thing. This wasn't something that I came up out of the blue. This is something that the main reason I kind of moved out into the country area some time ago to have sustainable food because as we have seen as of late, if you've been paying attention to the news and stuff that are going on, supply chains are kind of breaking down right now. It's really hard to get food and as well as the prices of common vegetables are going through the roof. So I felt it was important to actually get a group of people together that lived in the immediate area around me um, to take part in a Sustainable Food Alliance program that is a local. And I hope to, while it was kind of a closed group right now, I wanted to remind everyone that was in attendance that this is an open group, that they should go off and tell other people about it and to contact me with their information and I can kind of keep them in the loop on what we were doing. So that is the topic, or that was the topic of the group that was held on September 25th. I wanted to do this in a mall commons to put, to kind of get everyone together because it was kind of a central location where people didn't have to travel too far. But due to COVID-19 restrictions, I was not able to pull that off. So in my semi-monthly monthly discussions with these group of people, these members, I guess, I decided to have it at my property. I set up a tent and I put 7 seats. I was expecting 7 people to show up. 5 actually showed up, so it was 6 including myself. So I had a semicircle with me in the center, and I do have a dry erase board that I used as well as some handouts, including some information on climate change, GMO, sustainable food practices, farming, other types of resources that I actually included in all these handouts. I handed these out at the beginning and I did actually a short spiel. We did about 15 minutes of orientation. It wasn't really something that was informational. It was just kind of meet and greet and stuff like that. Most of the time, most of these members I just talked to over the phone or through Zoom conversations with those who do have computers and so forth. Not everyone around here is as high tech as it is in the city areas. So I had to keep that in mind as well. So I wanted to try to get everyone together to have a more formal meeting to kind of get to know each other because you know sometimes technology is great, but you can't really have the right type of communication if it's not in person. But due to COVID-19, I understand. I invited 7 people, 5 showed up, so I think that was actually a success for the most part. So I didn't really feel that there was a need to do some orientation. Excuse me, I did put some notes. So I wanted to kind of remember everything that happened in the group. So if I look over from the camera, just that's what I'm doing. So there wasn't really a need for orientation. Most of the people around here, they do go to monthly meetings that are kind of like a group, but it's more like a forum where people have a chance to talk about things, regulations, new regulations, or red tape, as it were, that for farming practices and so forth that are put forward every month. A lot of times it's just a forum where people get together and they can talk. So it's kind of the same thing. So most of the people that arrived, besides one who is a new member of the area, less than a year, her name is Sarah. I'll call her Sarah. That's not her real name. But most of the people that were in attendance were used to that. So I wanted to kind of keep it formal slash informal, but I didn't want to act like I was a know-it-all. I didn't want to act like I was a dictator leader or anything like that. Most of these people were older than me, so they were not used to having someone younger than them talking. I'm not very young, by the way, but I did want to have it more of a group-led process. It's task group, and our task was to figure out who was going to grow what for our sustainable food production. So that is what I explained in my opening spiel, what I wanted to get accomplished. After that, well, we kind of went through a round where I asked people, everyone in attendance, to give me, a couple sentences on why they felt that it was important to do sustainable food practices on a local area. After I got a good feel of where everyone was at, which they were pretty much on board. That's why they showed up, obviously. But I did want to get a little bit deeper into it, where I asked on a scale between 0 to 100, what they felt was, if they felt 0 representing that there's not going to be any need for self-sustainable food production, and 100 meaning that it's going to be a common occurrence in um, a rural area, even I guess a semi-urban area as well, as long as you can have a way to grow food. So most of the people that responded when we did our group, they were in the 90% range. Um, there was one that was 75, and her name, as I call her name, is Sarah. She is new. I wanted to kind of draw her out and ask her why she felt it was 75. And she wasn't, she didn't really talk too much in the beginning during the meet and greet, and I kind of wanted to get her more involved, so I asked her to kind of explain and um, to emphasize, just to kind of elaborate on what she meant. And she's new to this area. She just doesn't know too many people, and she wanted to kind of meet new people. And I was kind of concerned that this wasn't that type of group, and I was going to kind of take her off to the side, but that would have been kind of embarrassing for her. So I asked her, what do you mean by that? Do you know anything about farming? Is this? It's just like, oh, well, of course, that's what I used to do. My husband recently died, and I have these 3 kids, and I want to make sure they have enough food. That is the reason why I'm here. And it's not so much about what I believe is going to happen in the future. I don't keep that much. She said she didn't really keep that abreast of what was going on, either politically or environmentally or in the news or whatsoever. Most people around here, they don't keep, ahead of what's happening. But I guess that was historical, maybe, that they were like that. But now it's a little bit different. Most of the people that I've been talking to, they know exactly what's going on, and they are preparing. There's a lot of preppers around here. Prepping used to be something that, only crazy people did. But now it is something that pretty much everyone around here is doing. Um, so that was the first round that we did. After the round, I decided it was time to get into some exercises. Um, so I felt that the orientation, the beginning of the group, should go pretty quick and actually get into some exercises to figure out who's going to grow what. So what I did was that the first exercise, I actually gave everyone some handouts, and I just kind of went over some of the main reasons why this is very important, just to kind of solidify it in everyone's mind why we should be doing this. Because after they leave the group, since we're not meeting that much, I wanted to make sure that I left an impression on everybody that we need people that are committed. We need people that will do this over the next year, and further. But not only that, to actually talk to others, to actually get them involved as well, because this is an open group, and I want as many people as possible involved in this, because the more people we have, the less that each individual member has to lift on their own. And I believe that's very important with any type of team. It's not just one person that shines. It's everyone working in conjunction and correlation with each other. It's a cohesion, and the more we communicate, the better we are able to understand where every other person stands. So there was a problem actually with one of the handouts, or the handout that I actually laid out. We went over the problem with GMOs, the problem with unsustainability with um, shipping right now. It's becoming a problem. It's creating a lot of bottlenecks. Quality of food is actually going down pretty dramatically. Nutritional content is actually really bad as well. So we went over that. I actually had some peer-reviewed research. I know I wasn't actually trying to make it as boring, but I wanted to kind of back up everything with some actual science. Now, of course, we actually went into the whole thing on climate change. Now, climate change was, important to me, not so much to cause a debate, but the fact that it does have a huge bearing on when you start planting your seeds, when you harvest, what type of foods that you can grow throughout the year, what kind of area you're in, and what kind of vegetables you can grow, or fruits, because that's really important as well. We did want to focus just on vegetables right now because they're more nutrient dense, and they actually have a better shelf life. So all of these things were actually put into account. There was a debate that actually came up because of climate change, and this was something that I had a little bit of trouble and try to navigate, because a couple of the members were pro, I guess whatever you want to call it, man-made climate change, in other words, and a couple other people were. I don't like the term climate change denier. We all believe the climate is changing. Some people believe that it's due to other things. So before it became a problem with a debate on climate change, I tried to cut the members off and try to keep everything on focus and task and say, yes, the reason why I included climate change is because of crop rotation and what type of vegetables that we want to grow, and how many harvests that we could possibly get out of the next year, based on the Farmer's Almanac, which may or may not change over the next few months, or 6 months or so. So moving on, I know I'm actually referring to some of my notes here, but I believe that part actually went well. We actually went into an exercise after the handout, and you can call that handout an exercise, but it really wasn't, because I was just explaining what was on there and reaffirming and trying to reaffirm commitment to why it's important. So to actually get into the meat and the potatoes of the meeting, what we did was I had everyone, I handed out a piece of paper, and everyone actually put their top 5 vegetables, not the top 5 favorite vegetables to eat, but their top 5 vegetables that they grow, which means number 1 is the one that they grow the most, that they're most successful with, they have the most harvest with, and number 5 would be the least. I wanted to make sure that they put the 5 best on there. So I know this was going to take a few minutes, so I gave them 5 to 10 minutes to actually write this down. I think most people already had an idea about what they were actually, going to do. So this was a little bit easier to accomplish. And I know this video is running kind of long, so I'm a little bit long-winded. But to make a long story short, they did write their top 5 vegetables, and then we kind of went around. I wrote them all down on a chalkboard, and we went through, a couple rounds of where we kind of listed which vegetables that we wanted to grow over the next year, and the vegetables that we decided based on the list and the education of and experience of everyone that was involved was obviously the green vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, carrots, tomatoes, and sweet potatoes. So we decided on those 6 vegetables, because we have 6 people, and it wasn't very hard to kind of delineate who was going to grow what. It was based off experience, and it was based off land and nutritional content and so forth. So we figured all of that out. It took about I would have to say about 30 minutes of discussion, going back and forth, and we didn't have to split in diets or anything like that. Most people were, they pretty much, there was an easy separation between who grew what. Most people were pretty the vegetables that they chose, there wasn't a lot of overlap. Most people, there was one that was really good at growing Brussels sprouts. Sarah was actually pretty good at growing carrots, so I gave her that. I'm great at growing tomatoes, so I took tomatoes, and so forth on down the line. So that was an easy thing to accomplish. There wasn't a lot of pushback through the task orientation or task portion of this group. Most people were all on board. They kind of knew where they landed in the whole spectrum, and I actually thought it went really well. I concluded this group by kind of reiterating why it was very important for us to be meeting on a regular basis, why commitment was very important, because we were all going to be relying on each other to get the right amount of food the next year, and food keeps everyone alive. So I wanted to kind of reiterate that. I thanked everyone for showing up, and I made sure that we all exchanged our information with each other, and also encouraged each member to reach out to other people and to contact me for our next meeting. I did set a meeting for early spring, when most of the seeds are going to be started, so we could kind of coordinate with how many seeds were going to be planted, and kind of reiterate, because I know it's going to be about 5-6 months or so, and some people might forget. They might not have the handout and the notes that they have made during the meeting. So I wanted to do a quick meeting in, I guess that would be March, to reiterate everything and kind of get everyone on the same page, along with um, orientating new members. Of course, hopefully they would have contacted me before then. I do have a lot of experience with talking in front of groups. However, keeping people focused and letting other people kind of take control a little bit during meetings is something that I need to work on. I am kind of a control freak. I'm a neat freak. I like to keep everything in order, which is not a bad thing, but it can lead to um, being a little bit more maniacal with my control. So this is something that I need to work on. I probably should have let a little bit more discussion happen throughout the meeting. I shouldn't have been trying to control everything. I should have let certain things evolve naturally. And like I said, I know this is going a little bit long, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Honestly, I was nervous that no one would show up, but I did get a lot of response. I do live in a pretty conservative area, so at the end of the day, I wasn't very surprised that people weren't too scared of the COVID. I'm glad that they did show up. And, you know, there was social distancing. I did follow all of the guidelines and so forth. I didn't want to put anybody at risk because we know that it is going around. So I have learned a lot in group dynamics. I thought it was just about teamwork, but it's actually a lot more. There's a lot of moving parts that are going on in any kind of group because we're all part of a group. No matter where we are, even if we're waiting in line at a bank or if we're inside of Walmart, or if something horrible happens, if there's like a terror attack, you know, or something like that, you know, we're all part of one, you know, one large group, and we all have to work together to accomplish the tasks that are set before us. So I want to say thank you and have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.